we're going to go over smart objects, clone versus copy, and resizing in a smart object. So right now this isn't a smart duck. So I want two ducks for comparison. I'm going to go to image and I'm going to expand the width of the canvas. I want it to go over to the right. It's 7.9, for all intents and purposes, it's 7.2 inches. So I'm going to make it 14.4 inches to make it double. And I'm going to make Command J a copy. So I'm going to go to my move tool, hit the V key, and move. Now I have two identical ducks. Neither of them are smart object yet. I'm going to turn the top duck or screen right duck into a smart object. The little flyout menu, it's also under layer. I'm going to use that. I'm going to say convert to smart object. See this little icon? That icon means it's a smart object. So I'm going to go to free transform under edit. In the Mac it's Command T, and in the PC it's Control T. I'm going to change it with numbers up here on my options bar. I'm going to link the width and height and just type in 15% and hit double return. Now I have a tiny duck that's 15% of its original size. I'm going to click on the other duck, but it's not a smart object. I'm going to, again, Command T. I'm going to lock the height and width with the link and go 15%. And now I have two tiny ducks. The one on the right is a smart object. The one on the left is not. So I'm going to name this smart, oops. It's always a good idea to name things. Smart duck and dumb duck. Yay! Okay, there are my two ducks. Now I'm going to go back and change my dumb duck, Command T. Now, I shrunk it down to 15%, but when I look at my options bar, it says it's 100%. I'm going to close the link, but I can't really put a number in because I don't know what the number is. So I'm just going to Shift Option. Shift maintains the aspect ratio. Option resizes it from the center. So there we go. And there's our rasterized duck. Hit enter twice. And that's what happens when it's not a smart object. If I go to the smart duck, free transform, notice I'm going to click the link. It says 15%. It tells you where you're at from your original image that you brought into the file. It's really great. Shift Option, Shift Alt if you're on a PC, and I don't even have to do it by hand. I can just type in 100%, and there it is. So that's pretty basic. That's pretty simple. You can see the difference. We can zoom in, really, and we can double click our zoom tool, zoom back out. We don't need the dumb duck anymore. So I'm going to throw that out. There's the smart duck. Now we're going to go to clone versus copy. When it's a smart object, your standard way of copying a layer does not create a copy, it creates a clone. I think that is kind of weird, since you have to know that. So I'm going to just make a copy, which is actually making a clone. I'm going to shift this over, and just for educational purposes, it says Smart Duck copy. I'm going to change it to Smart Duck clone. So I know that this is a clone. So now I have two smart objects. I could have 20. I could have 100. It doesn't matter which one I work on. Whatever I do to one is going to happen to all of them. So I'm going to go in here and get my paintbrush. Now, if I try to paint on a smart object, it's not going to let me. Let me move this blend mode back to normal. See that? In fact, it's going to say this smart object must be rasterized before proceeding. Edit contents will no longer be available. And that's asking you, do you want to rasterize the smart object? Well, no, I don't. I may want to resize it. I don't know, but it's a clone. And it won't work as a clone if I rasterize it. So I'm going to say cancel. So be aware of that because it's real easy to accidentally rasterize something. What you do is you open it. It's like a smart object is like a file nested within your Photoshop file. Looks just like a file, has all the file attributes. And this is my duck. Now I can paint on my duck. So let's say I'll get a brush and I'll make it, let's see, I'll even make it even smaller, 6. You have to click out here. And I'm going to give this duck some curly green hair. Okay, curly green hair. How cute for that duck. And I'm going to change this to a black color and give the duck some eyeglasses. There we go. And then maybe I will add some more color to the hair, but a different green. So I just painted on the duck. There we go. And now, if I look at my PSD, which is my Photoshop file, note that when you have a smart object open, it's .psb, Paul, Sam, Bob. Okay? So with the PSD, nothing's happened. These are clones, but I have to save it for something to happen. So I'm going to go File, Save. Now when I go back here, both ducks have that same exact change. That's what a clone is. I can do a lot of things. I could go, and it doesn't matter which one, like I said, there could be 20. I could give it an adjustment. There we go, there's the adjustment layer. Maybe I'll colorize this duck. So now I have a green duck. Don't forget, I have to save it. This is the smart object. And if I go back in here, there they are. Actually, with a smart object, you do have a history panel. So if I decide I don't want the hue saturation, I'm going to go back here, save, go back here, and they're both fixed because they're clones. So I'm going to go back up. Now I'm in the Photoshop file, the .psd right now. I'm going to go back up to before I ever made the clone. I don't want a clone. I want a copy. The way to make a copy is you have to go into Layer, into Smart Objects, New Smart Object via Copy. Go to my Move tool. I'm going to move it to the right. Hold the Shift key so it's on the same horizontal plane. Now, I'm going to open this up. And this is the one I'm going to change. I think I'll give it a different color hair this time. I'll give it red hair. And go to the Brush tool. And maybe I'll bring something in here. Let's see. Let me go to Edit. No, File, Browse and Bridge. Open something up. I'll open up the rose. And I will go to my Move tool. Drag the rose into the PSB. Resize it. Maybe I'll change the opacity. There we go. And then hit return. And let's see if we can get a background in here. Browse and bridge. Let's see. I had a background that I was using. Here, these gummy bears. So I'll bring this into my PSB, put that down there. And now I have a whole bunch of stuff going on in this layer. Save it, Command S, go back to my PSD, and this is the only one that got changed. The other Smart Duck, completely independent. I could do other things to this Smart Duck. Maybe I'll go in, make it black and white, and save it. Go back to my, I've got lots of things open now. I'm going to close the gummy bears and close the rows. This is my black and white. Oh, that was from my earlier part of the lesson. We'll get rid of that because it's confusing. But now I've got 2 copies, independent copies. And if I want to go back in history, I just went back and changed the update on that smart object, on this Smart Duck. So now I'll just make a couple of clones just so we can, I'm going to resize them too so you'll know they're clones. See, I did like a regular copy. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why not just have a copy be a copy and have a clone be special? That's what I personally think, but I don't work for Adobe, so who knows? I think it's a little confusing, but maybe you won't. Okay. I'm going to move this out of the way. Now I have 3 clones. These are all clones. I'm going to rename them. And there are times that it does come in handy to be able to update things. If there's if you have a bunch of objects, you want everything to update at the same time. So there's a clone. All right, these are all clones. So I'm going to go inside of this one. I'm going to click lock. So that locks, see this little lock? It locks it so it won't paint. It's called lock transparent pixels. Keyboard shortcut is the /. I'm going to get the brush. What it does, it protects anything that's transparent. So I'm going to get the brush. I'm going to make the brush bigger with my bracket key. I've got that orange. I am going to change the blend mode to lighten. And now I'm going to paint the duck with different colors. Let's get some blue on the feather. See, notice, I don't have to be careful about going over the duck as long as that preserved transparency is, or let's say it's calling it lock, but in some other places it calls it preserve. And let's see, I'll get one more color, make this kind of a rainbow kind of a duck. And I think I went too far there. Let's just go here. So we've got our rainbow duck. And I'm going to save it, go back to the Photoshop file, and every single one of my clones is changed. So that's the difference between copy and clone, and that's how you resize. You've really got, within your Photoshop file, I'm going to close these right now, you've got little nested comps. Like when you group things, only Smart Object is more powerful. And you can have Smart Objects within Smart Objects. Often Smart Objects are multiple images together. I could make all 3 of these right now into a Smart Object and do more stuff. But we're not going to get that deep into it. It'll be too confusing. So that's it for this part of the Smart Object lesson.